On my way back home, a lot to talk about, actually. I thought today had the makings of maybe being a mediocre day. How would 3-point blue chip be? How would Pretty Eyes and Lies out of the 9-hole, then drive all the way down to, Miami Valley, 3.5 hours. It says it's 3 back, no traffic, right? Drive all the way down here. How would Gorgeous Package be? She's up a class. How would Mortlock be? If you asked me before the day started, who's your best shot? Mortlock. Second best? Probably Gorgeous Package and 3-point. I think we're probably the 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1 type deals. Both hit the rail. Little luck, who knows? And then Pretty Eyes and Lies. I just want to get a flat line on her. Started off the day, as we talked about earlier, 3-point blue chip. Did he race good? Yeah, he raced better. I was mildly happy with him. But I mean, the reality, the situation is, he's never been in a claimer in his life. Right? He's in a 16 claimer. And, ends up third. If I move him, he's a winner. Yes, but that's hindsight. You can't possibly make an argument for me to move him in the situation I was in today, knowing how he's been. I'm not even factoring in that he was the longest shot on the board, I think, at the time. Just that he was coming in so-so, right? But he raced good. Just got beat. Pretty Eyes and Lies, just disappointed with her overall output today. Now, we'll draw her blood. I don't want to get too down in the dumps until we see what her blood work looks like. But if that's what she's bringing to the table, as I said, we have so many horses getting ready to go right now and so many horses racing. I say this all the time about all the horses. And this goes back to even the short stint we had with Legal Scholar. If you're gonna try and row upstream all the time, against the way everybody else is rowing, well, I don't got a lot of time for horses like that. Or for people like that, for that matter, to be honest. Such a fickle, difficult game. If you start your day looking to make it more difficult for yourself than it needs to be, I mean, there's no efficiency there. There's no productivity there. You're not going to do well. Whether you are a horse or a human or any athlete. And if that's what she's going to bring to the table, as I said this afternoon, then she won't be staying. But all might be for naught. We draw her blood, and her blood comes back, with a high AST or a high GGT or something that would cause her to be subpar. By all means. That's a different thing. It's totally different. Young horse with dealing with issues. We'll talk about another one in a minute. But a young horse dealing with issues, you can't just cast a wide net in that way. It's not wise for me to do that. So we'll see. So I woke up this morning. I didn't do a whole lot at the barn. Went over to the meadows, 2.5 hours. It wasn't a great ride over. The road was, as I get out of Northfield, out of Ohio into Pennsylvania, the road was better, but still snowy, icy conditions this morning. It was about a 2 hour and 20 minute or 2.5 hour drive over to the meadows. And then I get in the car immediately, drove all the way down. I'm not getting home until, this says 11:50 at night, probably 11:45 or, I don't think I can make up enough time to be half past, but somewhere in that window, 11:30 to 11:45. So, drove all the way down. Was I excited? No, as I told you as the day started, it had the potential to be a mediocre day. A lot of middle of the roaders. The saving grace was we had the rail with two hole with one. I think Spitfire even left inside. Somebody said he raced terrible. Yeah, he raced terrible. Not supposed to get beat by that horse, but you know what? When Spitfire Overseas isn't great, he's very ordinary. There's a spot down here for him, and if we don't see the progression we want, we can move him to the meadows. I think at this juncture right now, Mohawk's out of the question. Somebody said Dover's out of the question. He's just to me, there is such a thin line, like that fence post from him being good and not so good to even bad. That fence post is super thin. Of all the horses we have, easily, in fact, of the horses we've campaigned in the last 5 years, if you said, give me the name of one really finicky horse that was just hit or miss, hot and cold, I don't see how I wouldn't come up with Spitfire Overseas like that. When he's good, man, he's good. And he can't be good forever. But he's not 10, he's 6. But when he's bad, look out. He is horrible. So I want to believe, you know, and as I said, Stacy called me tonight, you know, asked about changing shoes. And so I said, Stacy, you know him as good as anybody. You're not going to change his shoes, get him, so he's going to, mechanically, he looked better. Now, I would say if you looked at his gait last week compared to this week, you would say, obviously, the track is better. Same shoes, the track is obviously better this week. Now, I was just there. The track is as hard as a rock tonight. And we'll talk about how that probably played a role in our other two horses in a minute. That track was hard tonight. So he went from having a sloppy, kind of inefficient gait last week. His gait was okay today, but he had no power, right? Did the track suck the power out of him? Is he less effective on Lasix? Does he not like corks? Does he not like the winter? He's not talking. He's played in the 5th. So I told her, you don't have to try and reinvent the wheel. First off, you got his gait good. Shoes that we had on him, the shoes that Chris put on him, that he has on right now, I don't think there's a legitimate reason to change those shoes. And if we're looking for protection, which you're going to need on what I just raced on, I think that's good. I think you're on the right track. I don't think you're going to change his shoes and he's just going to come out like a, you know, like a dragon his next start. No, he's sulking right now a little bit. He's not great right now. She said, well, his qualifier, he was great at Northfield. Yeah, I mean, what did he beat up on? Qualified in 56. Beat up on a bunch of okay horses. I mean, it's not fair to use that line as an argument as to what's wrong with Spitfire. He's just not awesome right now. He's not horrible either. And I want to believe he's on his way to being better. Now, how do we get him better? Well, it's simple. Same thing I said to Stacy. You know, his last start was terrible. The track was bad. Before that, he was off like 3 weeks. This is his first start back in a week. I know Stacy doesn't train him hard in between, because you got to keep him sound. So it would stand to reason that next week he'll be better than he was today. Now, will he be the Spitfire that I want to see, that you want to see? No, that would be unrealistic. But if he can find his way, you know, baby steps forward and do better every week and pick up money along the way, they race for a lot of money down here, then fine. But I'm hopeful that that's not Spitfire Overseas of 2026. I don't think anybody believes it is. You know, do I think we have seen the best version of Spitfire? Probably. But it's a far cry better than that version. And as I said, he's not 9 or 10, he's 6. I think, maybe 7 at the most. Is he 6? 7? I think he's 6. Don't you say 6, 7. Don't do it. Anyway, he was okay. Gorgeous package. I listen, I'm going to believe she's just a little flat right now. I couldn't get her up the inside. If you watch down the lane, I probably had enough steam. I probably could have been 4th if I started out to the outside coming out of the turn. I told you I had that problem with her a few starts ago when I drove her. I couldn't quite get her through the inside. She hooks on the left line. She hates corks. I can tell you that. Raced her enough with them, without them. She doesn't like them. Now, she's going to have to wear them in the wintertime. I think, honestly, she kind of slipped just a hair also. She's a little tired, probably. 31. This is her 30, probably her 33rd start in a row. She's just a little filly. She's not a big strapping horse. She just feels like the candlelight is flickering, right? gaslights coming on just a little bit. She's getting a little tired. I don't think she needs a long time off. Give her a few weeks off, which is okay. Woodmere Betcha fits in that class. Well, Woodmere Betcha fits in class below that and then that class. And James told me when we were away, he thinks she might be a little tired too. It's possible. I just don't. We have one win at Northfield in that class. That class there is not going anywhere for a while. Why don't we just give her 2-3 weeks off? I'd like to put 20, 30, 40 pounds on her also. She's not skinny, but she's not as bulky as she was in the summer. She just needs to put a little bit of weight on. Now, Mortlock ended up being the best shot today. Almost the best shot to kill me. Lonnie, one of her partners, said it was a broken equipment. If you count his neck and my neck equipment, then yeah, there was almost some broken equipment. There's nothing more frustrating than that. I'm going to tell you something. Having a horse run away with you as a driver, somebody's been driving for, better part of 30 years. Having a horse duck their head under the gate. You want to wear no head checks on the horses. Might happen sometimes. That's on me. Having a horse run away with you and look out of control like that horse did tonight, there's two sides to it. For the people that know Mortlock, like me, that's not Mortlock. I don't know what get into him. Did he tie up tonight? Did the 4-hour ship down here, leaving in the morning and racing at 8? He's probably been down here the better part of 12 hours. Did he tie up a bit? Did the track, was it stinging his feet? Got to get a little protection on his feet. Was he just being rude? Remember, old Walner mouths. Not the coolest mouths sometimes. But having a horse do that as a driver, it's like watching somebody pick a fight in a bar and get their head beat in. Somebody come up, pick a fight, and bang, get knocked out. That would be the level of embarrassment. No. If that particular person's girlfriend was standing beside him when he picked the fight and the person he picked it with knocked him out, that would be a similar level of embarrassment that having a horse get away on you like that is. And he didn't run away with me. As a driver, he was coming in a little hot to the gate, and I said, "Oh, you want to get a look at the gate, Big Colt? You're going to get a look at it tonight." Well, at Miami Valley, at Northfield, at the Meadows, the numbers are big that come down, right? It's a chore to get underneath or around them. I almost did one day at the Meadows. But the ones at Miami Valley, they come down and there's a little slice. I assume that's when the wings close, you can still open the door. I'm not positive though, but they are smaller than at normal tracks. And he doesn't wear a head check because he's not really rude. Judges called me after, said, "Anthony, what is that?" I said, "Judge, I'm going to be honest with you. Either I have grossly misrepresented my strength or grossly underestimated my wife's. One or the other." And he said, what do you mean? I said, my wife qualified this horse 2 weeks ago. She's 125 pounds. I told Amy, I said, if Mortlock gets a little hot, just let him roll. Well, with the wire snake cord, and he wears a short one too. With the wire snake cord on, he wouldn't even keep up to the gate. He was quiet as a kitten. Same thing Lem said. So I said, I don't want to get away 5th or 6th with him tonight. I want to have him in striking position. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that wire snake cord off and I'm going to put a mini bit on him. Now, for any of you that know me out there, you know that the mini bit, probably the most hated piece of equipment on planet Earth for me. I think of it as a half measure. Very rare. And there's no point trying to explain it. If you're not a horse person out there, I'll do my best. The snaffle bit, this little mini bit just fits over the snaffle bit, and the idea behind it is to give a little more control. Rarely does that actually happen. I'm a snake cord guy. Put the snake cord on the ones that are rude. No arguments. And even I was surprised when I warmed him up with no snake cord, because I wanted to see how he was. Daryl's there. I said, you know what? Let's warm him up without the snake cord. Because remember, I've trained him in 2-1, but I haven't actually sat behind Mortlock in a fast mile in a month, 5 weeks. Chris Lems drove him last week. Amy qualified him the week before. Which I'm going to be completely honest, a little more embarrassment. Maybe your wife should go with the horses. He was unstoppable going to the gate. Now, if I had a head check on him, which I should have had, but he's never been like that. I would never ask my wife to even remotely qualify a horse that was dangerous. I would not do that. That would be stupid, unfair, dumb. And he was not. The horse was a kitten in the qualifier. He's not a kitten tonight. Even I, as I say this to you, as much as I hate mini bits, I find it really hard to believe that the difference between a wire snake cord and a mini bit is what you saw tonight. So I will leave you with this. I believe he did tie up tonight. I believe the ship down was just maybe too much for him. You know, we don't want to call him a baby because he's 4, but he's never raced before. He's never gone through this before. You might say, well, he was on the road. Well, on the road is not the same as going down the road in a trailer. Remember, Darryl left this morning, so the weather was terrible. Got all the way down here. He's been here for a while. I'm going to say when we draw the blood on Mortlock that there's a few little things we have to work on. And he's going to stay close to home. Right now, the judges at Miami Valley probably think that I'm married to a bodybuilder. Or maybe somebody used to wrestle in the WWE. A weightlifter, perhaps. Every so often, you got to remind yourself, right? You got to understand that anything can happen in racing. Now, I didn't get hurt. Mortlock didn't get hurt. No one got hurt. Maybe my feelings a little bit. I was a little angry. But I'm well aware of the situation. That horse, the monstrosity that just raced, was not Mortlock. Put the snake cord back on him. And never race him without it again. To start. You're going to have to work on his tying up a little bit. And I don't think that's the only issue. The track was hard. Remember we talked about Spitfire Overseas. The track was hard tonight. This horse needs a little padding on his feet. He needs a little help up front. His feet hurt him. 9/16's not going to cut it. I think we'll go to a 5/8. I don't want to say flip-flop because it's going to be hard to race on the track at Northfield that's so inconsistent and just because of the weather right now. Maybe we'll start with the same type of pad that Spitfire has on up front. Maybe that's what we'll do. He just needs a little help. You can't just throw him up in the gate. He's still a young horse learning. And although I'm certain he's not scared of the gate any longer, he's going to need a little help next start. Makes me more angry because I just finished telling you he was ready to trot in 58. They went in 58 on their hands and knees. Lost win and wasted money, but you have to be able to take something away from your losses. Gorgeous Package needs a little bit of time off, a little rest. 20-30 pounds, bring her back, polish off that class at Northfield, then she can come down south. I'm hopeful that James is wrong and that Woodmere Betcha maybe isn't a little tired. She's very comparable to Gorgeous Package. She fits the class below this class. Hopefully she can dust them and then race in the class that Gorgeous Package was in today. And if we have a little luck over the next 4, 5, 6 weeks, she can make her way up to maximizing that number as a 10 class as Gorgeous Package comes back off the shelf and hopefully dusts the bunch up here. So there's wins on the table from everybody. I think 3-Point Blue Chip will do well in the 16 to 22 claimer. As long as we continue to protect him and race him accordingly and let him get his confidence back up, I think we'll be fine. I'm not so happy with Pretty Eyes and Lies, but I will defer any of my frustration best I can until after we get her blood work back. Spitfire Overseas, rinse and repeat, and a lot of people may not like to hear that. You can't make horses be better, right? They have to get better. He's not tired. He's not hurting. Mechanically, that was pretty good for him. I'm going to give him an A- mechanically today. There's a horse that was winning in 52, he won in 51, I believe. Trot in 53, 52, 54, was a very effective horse with a gait that I would say was much more ineffective than the one that looked like he had today. It's just a matter of getting him going. So rinse and repeat. Gorgeous Package, a little time off. Mortlock, change his shoeing. Make sure we get his blood squared away properly. Race him at Northfield Park. And take care of him. Make sure his feet are good, his blood is good, before we put him in to go again next. And I think that is the best thing we can take away from today. Those are the main points of today. Anyway, I'll be home in a mere 2 hours and 40 minutes. Hope you guys are having a decent day. I know for my partners on Mortlock, or Gorgeous Package, or Pretty Eyes and Lies, or maybe even Spitfire, or 3-point. Maybe you didn't like what you saw today. I think there's better days ahead for, I'm going to say all, because Pretty Eyes and Lies qualified much better than she felt today. I will say she was looking for a way out today. She had no interest in doing her work today. So I hope for her and all of us that was simply a little bit of a cry for help, that maybe something was bothering her, and we'll get her squared away. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday night. We are all off tomorrow. Saturday, got a little work to do at the Meadows. Sunday, a lot of work to do at Northfield Park. Lots of racing ahead. Take care.